night, Thursday night, going live with the family. I'm honored to be back in here with the family. Peace to all the family coming in. I'm honored to be back in here with the family on another Thursday night. Of course, we're gonna chop up some good game. We're gonna chop up some good game tonight, and we're gonna get straight to it. We're gonna get straight to it. Where's all the family at? Where's the family from in the building? Put the city you in the building, or the country, because I know I have a lot of people who listen to me from other countries. So where's all the family from? Peace, 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 Queen, peace, peace. Where's all the family from in the building? Put your city below. Put your city below. DC, shout out to DC. Shout out to DC in the building. Dallas, shout out to Dallas. Yeah, I had to go ahead and make that. I had to go ahead and make that YouTube channel. Had to go ahead and make the YouTube channel. And this live is gonna be up on YouTube after we get done as well. Seattle, shout out to Seattle. North Carolina, Houston, Trinidad. Shout out to Trinidad. Shout out to all the brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. Shout out to Mississippi. I got a lot of love for Mississippi as well. That's where the family's from. That's where the family is originally from. Peace, God. Peace. Peace. But, with that being said, we're going to discuss tonight. Tonight, we're going to discuss the topic of original gangsters. Original gangsters. And I apologize in advance. The Wi-Fi is a little janky tonight. I don't know what's going on, so I might be just a little blurry than usual, but hopefully it's good enough. Shout out to California, Chicago. Shout out to all the family. Hey, peace from Atlanta. We in Atlanta with it heavy. So peace from Atlanta. But tonight we're going to talk about the topic original gangsters. Original gangsters. And this is a subject that I've been wanting to touch on for a while because I feel like oftentimes as African people, when we speak about OG, we use the term OG a lot in our community. Oh, this is the OG or that's the OG. And we mainly use it for elders and things of that nature. And we use it mainly out of a sign of respect. But I feel like oftentimes we forget who the real OGs are. Who are our real enemies? Who are the real original gangsters, the terrorists, the bank robbers, the people who not only stole banks but stole countries? Who we forget who the real enemies are in the community. And that's what we want to talk about it tonight. We want to talk about the original gangsters and how they helped to create the Ma'afa. How they helped to create the Ma'afa. Hold on one second, family. How they helped to create the Ma'afa. And we want to talk about that on a deep level tonight. I'm from Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta right now as we speak. Born and raised in Atlanta. So shout out to all the Atlanta family in the building. Yeah, but we want to talk about the original gangsters tonight. The Ma'afa, so to speak. But before we do that, of course, as always on the show, we have to encourage, before we get started, entrepreneurship, black ownership. In 2019, we have to push it each and every show. I want all the family out there to become a black owner this week. It's very simple to become a black owner. You can get you some stocks this week. You can start trading you some Forex this week. We want to own everything that we touch. We have a consumer mindset in the black community, and we have to change that. If you're tired of seeing the police officers kill black folks, if you're tired of seeing redlining in your community, then we have to own our own community. We have to have black ownership. We have to run these businesses so we can put these police officers in jail, because we know when you own the businesses of your community, that equals political power. Therefore, you're able to back politicians who back your agenda. You see what I'm saying? So black ownership is key in 2019. And I want all the family, after you get off this live, I want you to write down your goals for the year and for next year. And I want all the family in here as well to encourage, and we're going to push every year. I want every person in this room to get one extra stream of income this year. One extra stream of income. And if you can, I want that not to be a labor income, meaning that you're selling your labor. I don't want you to go out and get another job. I want you to get another passive form of income this year. We have to work on that. We have to work on adding passive streams of income to our assets or to our family. Like I say, whether that's stocks, whether that's real estate, whether that's Forex, hell, you can go out here like I'm looking at now. We're about to put together a deal where we buy over 10 vending machines. That's a form of ownership. It's the little things. It doesn't have to be nothing big. You don't have to go out there and buy a damn Wingstop or a McDonald's. We talking about the little things. Go get you a vending machine, man. Set up you a vending machine on the corner or a storefront. Go work out deals with some of these black owners in your neighborhood or any owner in your neighborhood and set up vending machines or things of that nature. A way to create passive forms of income. You might start off only making 20, 30 extra dollars a week, but you're making extra streams of income that you didn't have to work for. And that's what we want to push going forward. Extra streams of income, passive streams of income. Because if you talk to any millionaire, the key number they'll tell you is 7. We want to get to where every black person's at 7 streams of income. And we only want one of those incomes to be labor. We really don't want none of them to be labor, but we only want one to be labor. The rest need to be passive forms, meaning you're making more money while you're asleep than you're making at your job. And that's what we want to push for in 2019. Like I say, diversify your portfolio, get your stocks, get your forex, get your real estate, get your tax liens, get your vending machine game on, or whatever you want to do. But we want to create passive streams of income in 2019. This is how you become a black owner. We want to own everything in our community, from the vending machine to the storefront. You dig? That's what we want to do in 2019. Also, I wanted to piggyback off what I talked about last week. I talked about last week the abortion laws that are going crazy throughout the United States. And as we saw last week, Missouri just added itself to that list. And I just want to encourage my queens again, please do not fall for the agenda. Do not fall for the feminist movement that is about to come about. We want to stay on code as black people, as a whole. Do not allow them to divide and conquer our people. Please do not allow them to divide and conquer our people. So we need to stay on code. We're not falling for any new objectives. We just want to be on code in 2019. It's reparations or else. That's it. We're not falling for any of these feminist groups because, trust me, they're coming. They're going to try to hijack the next election. They're going to try to take the eye off of reparations and put it on feminist movement, white feminist agendas. Let's not fall for that. This is between the white woman and her man. Let's stay out of that. This is about negative birth rate for the white community. This has nothing to do with black women. Understand, they invented abortions to target you. So them taking away abortions is not meant to target you. That's meant to target the white woman and her relationship with her white man. So let's stay focused with this election that's around the corner. It's going to be here before you know it, family. And we got to be on code. We not voting for nobody who ain't talking about reparations. Nobody. We need our check. It's time. 400 years, we need our check ASAP. Everybody's got paid except for the black community. So that's what we need to get on in 2019. Again, remember, don't fall for the technology. Stay focused. Stay focused, family. That's what we're pushing for in 2019. 1 second, family. Okay. I'm sorry about that. But again, like I said, stay focused in 2019 politically, economically, get your streams of income, get everything popping as a whole. Get everything popping as a whole. But let's get to the topic of the day. The topic of the day is original gangsters. And like I say, I want to talk about this because I feel like as African people, oftentimes we're such a godly people that we take words that are normally meant to be negative and we turn them positive. We do this a lot in our community. We've taken the word gangster, which is supposed to be a negative word in our community, and we've turned it into a positive word. We more so use the word gangster now as a sign of respect. We call somebody an OG as a sign of respect. We use this as a form of respect for our elders and other people that we might admire or look up to or mentors in that sense. But I don't want us to lose sight of the original meaning of the word, which is a criminal group. And we have to address these criminals. We have to address who the real OGs are, who the real original gangsters are. We're not talking about people like Bonnie and Clyde or Al Capone or even Frank Lucas and other black so-called gangsters. We're talking about people, true gangsters, who stole countries. not only countries but stole continents, who committed genocide versus African people. And it's important that we know these people in order to hold their country accountable. This falls into reparations because oftentimes white gangsters get an easy way out. White folks don't like to talk about their terrorists, yet they want to talk about our terrorists all the time. They want to talk about people who break their so-called rules and violations that were put in place by their gangsters. And that's important that we address this issue. Trump is a gangster, but we're talking about bigger gangsters than Trump today. We're talking about gangsters who stole countries and still own those countries to this day. To this day. And first we're going to start off with, because everybody knows about the Ma'afa that happened here in America. We know about slavery. We know about what we're still going through to this day. So we want to start in the motherland. And I want to introduce you to some gangsters of the motherland. White gangsters. British gangsters. European gangsters that colonized the whole continent of Africa. So the first gangster I want to bring to the family's attention is Cecil John Rose. Now, some of you might have heard of Cecil John Rose. Some of you might not have heard of Cecil John Rose. But Cecil John Rose was a gangster who completely took over and colonized all of South Africa. And I'm not just talking about the South Africa we know today, but I'm talking about really the whole southern tip of the continent of Africa. From Zimbabwe to Zambia to Namibia. He had that whole region of southern Africa. And it's important that we know who Cecil John Rose is to this day, because oftentimes he is in our curriculum, but we do not know who he is. He is being taught to our babies each and every day as this brilliant scholar and businessman, but they don't tell you this man was a mass murderer of African people. They don't tell you he was a mass murderer of African people. Cecil John Rose is somebody who killed millions in order to colonize South Africa. And he started what is known as the apartheid system that we are still seeing played out to this day in South Africa, which, Nelson Mandela talked about so much, which our brothers and sisters in South Africa are still going through to this day. Cecil John Rose. Cecil John Rose was so much of a gangster that he parlayed the wealth of South Africa. Because when we talk about any African nation, Africa is run by gangsters, white gangsters to this day. Africa is the richest, most wealthiest continent on the face of the earth as far as resources are concerned. Meaning your gold, your diamonds, your coltan, your just natural resources. No continent can survive without Africa. And see, Europeans understood this. Cecil John Rose understood this. So what he did was he turned South Africa in the early 1900s, late 1800s into his own personal plantation. His own personal plantations. And he is still honored to this day in European society as somewhat of a hero. Did y'all know, family, that the highest, most prestigious scholarship that one could receive in the world is called the Rhodes Scholarship? Many of you might have heard of the Rhodes Scholarship. You see what I'm saying? The Rhodes Scholarship is given to many African people across the world to this day. In fact, I had a girl that I graduated high school with. She received the Rhodes Scholarship. That is one of the ultimate forms of disrespect to African people, to give them a scholarship named after a man who was a mass murderer of African people. You see what I'm saying? That is equivalent to giving a European Jew the Adolf Hitler Scholarship. That is equivalent to doing that. You see what I'm saying? And that scholarship transfers black people to schools such as Oxford, which is renowned for its education. This is Cecil John Rose. Cecil John Rose created the De Beers Company. Any of my people who know economics, who know resources, who know about commodities and diamonds in Africa knows that De Beers had a monopoly on the diamond industry in Africa for damn near a century. And he sucked dry the wealth out of Africa into his De Beers Company. And he sent those resources back to Europe. Because remember, Europe is a continent that really doesn't have any natural resources. It's never had any real natural resources. Europe has always had to to steal resources from other continents and give it back to, Europe and things of that nature. So this is what Cecil John Rose did. He is a mass murderer. You have scholars like Dr. Joseph Ben Yuckerman who said he killed as many as 50 million South Africans. Because one thing that is common among Europeans is they do not count the body toll or the death toll when it comes to African people. They don't count the death toll when it comes to African people. So we'll never know truly how many people he killed, but we do know we're seeing the effects of Cecil John Rose to this day in South Africa. This is why we're completely behind our brothers and sisters, the EFF, Julius Malema, and the Economic Freedom Fighters of South Africa. He is the reason why 90% of the land in South Africa still to this day is owned by white people, even though white people make up roughly only about 10% of the population. And our native South African brothers and sisters are still living in shanty towns. They still don't have running water in most native African homes in South Africa. To this day, this is what Cecil John Rose did. This is why you still see this white apartheid type system in South Africa. They named the university, the top university in South Africa after him. This was a gangster. He stole damn near part of a continent. That's Cecil John Rose. We need to know about John Rose. We need to educate our babies on Cecil John Rose. We need to stop accepting his scholarship, and we need to correct this. We need to label him not as a scholar, not as a great explorer, as Europeans like to say, but as a terrorist, as a gangster. He is a gangster, and we need to address him as such. You said the apartheid is because of Mandela. What do you mean the apartheid is because of Mandela? Because the apartheid goes back, the architect of the apartheid is Cecil John Rose. That's way before Mandela. Cecil John Rose came into South Africa roughly 1880s. You see what I'm saying? Cecil John Rose is the man who said he prefers lands to niggas. He literally said that in I believe it was 1887 in the Cape Town Assembly. He said, I prefer land to niggas. Those were his words. So that introduced you to his mindset. You see what I'm saying? That introduced you to his mindset. This is Cecil John Rose. He said we should never let the native children, when he said the native children, he's talking about our indigenous brothers and sisters in South Africa, black folks. He said we should never let the native children control the land. This is what he said. So apartheid, the architect of the apartheid is Cecil John Rose. And we're still seeing the effects of him to this day. In his statues, and he's known even in Western countries, even in this country to this day, as the architect of the apartheid that we saw in South Africa and we're still seeing in South Africa. That's why I'm 100% behind our brother Julius Malema and the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters. Understand, we cannot respect rules of gangsters, family. We cannot respect rules of gangsters. Black folks have this whole thing of, we can't match violence with violence. We can't break the law. Whose law are we talking about? We're talking about this apartheid law of South Africa that was created by a gangster. He didn't respect no law. Why should we? It's time to take back our land, family. We got to stop respecting the opinions and the laws written by gangsters. These are gangsters who wrote these laws. Cecil John Rose didn't come over as a tradesman. He's not native South African. He's from Britain. He came over on Britain. He's a monster, like the sister just said in the room. He's a gangster. We don't respect the rules of gangsters. They don't write the rules. You see what I'm saying? He has no ties to that land. So we have to understand who we're dealing with in the origins of these laws. But moving on, because he's not the only one in South Africa. See, they don't teach us about Frederick Luger of Nigeria, a white British person, because one thing you'll notice is that the Britons have really just terrorized Africa. The Britons have originally just terrorized Africa. But they don't tell you about Sir Frederick Luger, a British man who was governing over Nigeria, who put a tax on the native brothers and sisters of Nigeria. This was around the early 1900s. And he used that tax money to fund England. Because remember, Europe is a country with no resources. Europe's only claim to fame is bullying. That's Europe's only claim to fame. Same thing with the United States. The United States' only claim to fame is bullying, meaning they don't have any real resources to trade with. They don't have true wealth. America doesn't have true wealth. America's $20 trillion in debt. And our money is fiat currency. It's fiat currency, meaning it's backed by nothing. So what is it backed by? It's backed by the threat of the military of the United States. That if you don't accept this money, then we're going to bomb you. Or we're going to do X, Y, and Z. You see what I'm saying? Same thing what Frederick Luger did to the natives in the natives in Nigeria. He created a tax. He taxed them for years. He knocked off any Igbo leader of the native people of Nigeria. He murdered them. You see what I'm saying? He permitted slavery among traditional royal British families that were living in Nigeria, meaning he gave them the right to own slaves. This is Frederick Luger of the British Empire. This is a gangster. He hijacked Nigeria for around 4 to 5 years and turned it into his own personal plantation. And understand, this money that they took, the diamonds that the De Beers and the Great Britain and they stole out of South Africa and Nigeria, these resources, family, were never returned. These resources would never return. That's the same way they did our brothers and sisters in Haiti in the early 1900s. The United States went down to Haiti. And I believe it was from like I believe they were there 20 years, from like 1906 to like 1926. I'm probably wrong on the date, but they were there for like 20 years. And what they did is, at one point in time, Haiti was more wealthy than the United States. A lot of people don't know this because we know Haiti to this day as a very poor nation in the Caribbean. They always talk about how poor Haiti is. But Haiti was more wealthy than the United States at one point in time. And the reason why is because the Haitians backed all their money by gold, meaning their money was actually worth something. It was actually worth a resource. You see what I'm saying? And what the United States did was, in the early 1900s, they went in and they invaded Haiti. They killed over 5,000 Haitians, and they took over these Haitian banks, and they took the gold out of these Haitian banks and sent them to the banks in New York City. That gold has still yet to be returned. This is why we got to know who the true gangsters are, because the gangsters right now are not being held accountable. See, we think the gangsters is the brother in our neighborhood on the corner, the brother with a blue flag hanging out, the brother with the red flag hanging out. No, these are brothers who have been miseducated. That's all that is. The true gangsters sit up in the banks. The true gangsters sit up in the White House. The true gangsters sit up in the royal palaces of Europe. These are the gangsters. They never returned that gold of Haiti. They never returned that gold to Haiti. Because see, you'll see all these little white people now with these little infomercials, send Haiti some rice. No, send Haiti back their gold. Tell the gangsters to send Haiti back their gold. You see what I'm saying? Tell Britain to send Nigeria back their tax money. Tell Britain to send South Africa back their diamonds that they stole for hundreds of years under Cecil John Rose and the De Beers Company. Tell them to send that money back. You see what I'm saying? Tell Germany to send their reparations to our brothers and sisters in Namibia who were under the first concentration camps. See, they don't tell you about this. They tell you about the Jewish German concentration camps. What happened to the European Jews family? They don't tell you that 50 years before any Jew was ever put in an oven, 50 years before a Nazi party, they were experimenting on our brothers and sisters in Namibia on a place called Shark Island. Look up a place called Shark Island. It's still there to this day in Namibia. It was around the 1890s. from 1890 to 1945, which just so happens to be around the time of the Nazi Party, they were experimenting on our brothers and sisters in Namibia, the indigenous native African population in Namibia. You see what I'm saying? They had internment camps. One of those internment camps was called Shark Island, or AKA Death Island. The natives called it Death Island, where they would take indigenous, I believe their native name is, I don't want to mess it up. Let me go to the receipts. I don't want to mess up the brothers and sisters' name, the ancestors' name. Shark Island. Let me go to my notes on Shark Island. The Hero, I believe I'm pronouncing it wrong, probably the Hero people and the Nama people of Namibia. They're still in Namibia to this day. They committed genocide versus them. They committed genocide versus our native brothers and sisters in Namibia, which is really right above South Africa. These were the first concentration camps 50 years before the Jews. Nobody had heard of the European Jews or any Holocaust. You had doctors, you had gangster doctors like Eugene Fisher. Look up Eugene Fisher of the Nazi Party. He was a gangster doctor. He used to take the heads of our native brothers and sisters in Namibia and boil them. This was eugenics before any eugenics was done on a European Jew. See, the Western world, they don't want to tell you this. They don't want to tell you this. You see what I'm saying? The Nazi Party had been doing eugenics on native African people, but nobody cared because, again, these were just Africans. These were just Africans. Nobody wants to talk about this. These were the first concentration camps. This is why I don't have no tears for no European Jew put in no concentration camp. I don't have no tears. I don't have no tears for them because my ancestors already went through that and you didn't have no tears for us. See, everybody's cool when Africans are the ones being dying, when black folks are being shot upside the head. But when white folks start getting shot upside the head, now everybody's supposed to cry. We're supposed to do a world war together. No, hold your own nuts. Hold your own nuts. Because on Shark Island, our ancestors were been going through what the Jews were going through. They were being boiled alive. Look it up if you don't believe me. Look up Shark Island in Namibia. It's still there. That was one of 5 concentration camps they had in Namibia, where they were experimenting on Negroes. You see what I'm saying? Where they committed genocide on our ancestors in Namibia. But we ain't done, because we can go to our brothers and sisters in Ethiopia that happened 6 years before the Jewish-German Holocaust again. We can go to the Falashas. Look up the Falashas, the Ethiopian Jews that have been exiled from Israel, their rightful birthland, that European Jews don't recognize. Look up the Falashas, the Ethiopian Jews, and how they went from 5 million under Mussolini and the Italian fascists to 50,000 by the time he left. He damn near exterminated all our brothers and sisters in Ethiopia, the Falashas. And at the same time, the great Emperor Haile Selassie was at the UN. He was begging the UN to send in troops because Mussolini was exterminating the Falashas. And the UN sent in nobody. The US sent in no troops. They sent over no troops. None of these Jewish powers sent over any troops because, again, it was just Africans dying. Shout out to the Queen from Trinidad. Shout out to the Queen from Trinidad. But it was just Africans dying. So nobody sent over no troops. Nobody cared. The Falashas. Look up the Falashas. And at the same time, Mussolini and the Italian fascists was over there. He had the condolences. He had the blessing of Pope Pius VI of the Catholic Church. The church was condoning this. That's why I say African people have no friends. This was 6 years before Hitler would do what he did to the European Jews in Germany. But nobody cried. Nobody was up in arms about this. Nobody said, oh, well, damn, that's messed up. It wasn't until these European Jews started being killed in Germany that someone got upset about it. You see what I'm saying? And if it wasn't for the great ancestor Haile Selassie, all the damn philosophers would probably be dead. Because understand, Ethiopia is the only country that has never been completely colonized by white supremacists. Due to the efforts of Menelik, due to the efforts of Haile Selassie. They've never been completely colonized. So Haile Selassie started picking up them guns and had to fight off these white supremacists. Because other white Jews and other white nations that supposedly care about the Holocaust to this day, they weren't sending no troops. They didn't care. That's why we have to start telling these other groups to hold their own nuts. Hold your own nuts. I don't want to hear nothing about no Jewish German Holocaust. When our brothers and sisters were in concentration camps 60 years before that, and nobody came for our rescue. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to hear nothing about 6 million European Jews dying when we can go over to the Congo under Leopold II of Belgium, when he wiped out half of the Congolese population. Half of the population, 15 million of our brothers and sisters dead under Leopold II in a 20-year time span. In a 20-year time span, family. These are gangsters. Leopold II was a gangster. He robbed the whole Congo. He robbed the whole Congo. Because understand, family, despite popular belief, the Congo is the richest nation on the face of the earth as far as resources. The Congo has something called coltan. Coltan is essentially vibranium. That is the real vibranium that they were talking about in the Black Panther. That is the coltan of the Congo. That is the coltan of the Congo. That's the real vibranium that they're talking about in the Black Panther. That powers all the U.S. military devices, all the electronics is in TVs. It powers our technology. The Congo is the richest place on earth as far as coltan is concerned. You see what I'm saying? They don't talk about Leopoldo. They talk about these 6 million. And again, I'm not co-signing it. What happened to the Jews in Germany was horrible. But hold your own nuts. Because 15 million died in the Congo. Way before that. 20, 30 years before that, under Leopold II, in a 20-year time span. He threw pregnant mothers out in the middle of roads. These are records that he wrote. I'm not making this up. Look up the research yourself. Look up the records. Look up the documentary yourself that he wrote himself, bragging about how he killed X amount of Africans to this day, on this day. You see what I'm saying? Exactly, my queen. Original gangsters. These are gangsters.